Let me see. Let me scroll up here and find my.
We are the Timmers.
There's my button.
Dimmers.
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
We want you to take all of the roles. Good looking people. Welcome back to Dads Meet World. This weekly deep dive into Boy Meets World, where a boy named Cory gets to meet the world. And we as dads like to look back and explore what it means to us as dads. If you are just joining us for the first time, you've picked an interesting week because you might want to put the young kids away. This is not the best episode for anyone under teenage years. We're going to be having some frank discussion about love, prom, unexpected pregnancies, and yes, sex. So that is your...
Let's get real.
Yes, we're going to get real. I am dad number 1, Brett, and you just heard dad number 2. Welcome aboard.
I am Tyler, dad number 2.
Yes, we're going to get real and frank this week, I'm sure. So good looking people. If you don't want the young ones listening or watching this week, now's your last chance. Don't worry, we won't get graphic. We still want to be somewhat family friendly.
Mm-hmm. No, but we're not worried about those ABC censors, that's for sure, darn it.
We are not.
But you say I'm sure.
That's right. So Tyler, how's it going?
It's going okay. We were delayed recording just a little bit. Had a screaming child, and so maybe you'll hear that a little bit later on. But we're doing okay. Just still dealing in the wrath of moving things around, and toddlers. Just had my birthday, so unfortunately I had to grow another year, and
1 year closer to death.
Another year closer to death. Now I can start my New Year's resolution. Thank you. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good over here, all things considered. And as long as all of us can sleep, that's really what we're looking for right now. Brett, how about you?
Yes. It's been an interesting couple of days. We've had a sick teenager in the house. We've had snow finally falling here in our part of Ohio. About 2 weeks later than I wanted it to come. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of snow lately, and finally got some an excuse to send the kids out with shovels.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting to send them out, say, hey, go shovel. Well, why? Because we're old.
Yeah, we don't send our child out to go shovel. He just will go out, like take the dog outside, and then just start shoveling. And have to yell out, "Stop shoveling and come inside." Why?
Well, the most humorous part was our middle child, Toby. He was talking with some friends. He's like, Kelly and I are getting ready to go out for a date the other night, just last night actually, and we were just going to go out for a bite to eat, just have a little night away. And he was talking on the phone with some friends, and he wanted to know if they could come over. And I was like, well, you do have to go shovel the snow. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, well, if they want to come over and help you shovel the snow, sure. I think a little bit of Tom Sawyer is appropriate. I come to find out later, he has no clue who Tom Sawyer is. So apparently our school district is failing these children. But he asked his friends. Apparently one was very interested in shoveling snow and coming and hanging out. And the other one he was talking to at the time was not very interested. No friends came over to shovel with him, unfortunately.
Sad.
So no one came over to hang out. But we came back, did a great job on the driveway, great job on the front sidewalk. There's this walkway from our breezeway out to the driveway, though. Yeah, we're talking 5-6 feet. Wasn't touched at all. Had to walk over it to get back into the house, but you got to be specific. So, Tyler, let's talk about some other teenagers tonight or this week. Because,
Let's do that.
good-looking people, we record late at night. We're going to look at episode 22 of season 5, Promises, Promises. On prom night, Cory and Sean decide to leave as boys and come back men. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hashtag release the knick-knack cut. And while Angela is not ready, Topanga agrees to getting a hotel room. Meanwhile, Amy is upset because of how Alan reacts to her recent good news. This episode was written by the writing team of Ellen Idelson and Rob Lauderstein. This is the last of 3 episodes for this writing team, or for them solo. In fact, I wrote that before I went back and looked. They only wrote as a team for Boy Meets World. They also wrote I Love You, Donna Karen, and How to Succeed in Business. So thank you for your service, Ellen and Rob. Was directed by Alan Meyerson. Originally aired 1 week after last week's episode, May 1st, 1998. Currently enjoys an 8.1 on the old IMDb scale. That's 0.6 points higher than last week's episode. And is currently tied for 7th place on the season with Starry Night. So, Tyler, last week's episode, Honesty Night, got us 10.06 on the old Nielsen ratings. What do you think Promises, Promises got us?
Well, I gotta imagine they were advertising the crap out of the fact that this is the prom episode, and big things happen on prom. So I gotta, Brett, I have some hope that we've at least gone back up to like 12.
12, all right. 10.9.
Wow.
It is May. We are officially into May. So, I mean...
Yeah, people are out and about doing stuff on a Friday night, baseball games.
Yeah. They might be going to their own proms on a Friday night in May.
That's really true. I mean, May 1st probably was a prom night.
Yeah. So let's get into it, good-looking people. We're going to start off in the Matthews kitchen. Cory and Sean looking all studly in their tuxedos, talking about what might happen after
this
prom.
marks another episode where we don't go to the Matthews' living room. Yes. 2 episodes, Brett. 2 episodes is all we got this season.
Yeah. We're just going to get them in the kitchen. But that's okay, because they're going to talk about going as boys and returning as men, if you know what I mean. And
what do you mean, Brett?
I mean that 3-letter word known as sex. In fact, oh man, I don't have anything on my board that really runs with that. Oh well.
Oh,
Big Daddy rocks. Eric. Big Daddy rocks. Big Daddy rocks. Hang on. But he's saying sure.
So, let's briefly talk about Cory and Sean in the kitchen, talking about what might happen afterwards. Sean and Angela. Sean's apparently not really talked with Angela about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is just going to kind of go with the flow. Mm-hmm. Cory and Topanga have sat down. They've discussed it. They've drawn up charts. They've graphed it out. And if things are absolutely, positively, completely perfect, exactly perfectly right is what they say, then maybe.
Yeah. Okay. As a teenager, I remember... I mean, I'm sure as a kid I watched... I don't remember this episode. I'm assuming there was an idea that there was going to be talk about sex, so I was not allowed to watch this episode. But, as a teenager, young person, I thought, gosh, Cory and Topanga are so lame. As a dad now, and especially as an adult who works with teenagers, I'm like, yes, Cory and Topanga. Good job. You thought about this. You've talked about it openly, communicated.
Communication.
Pros and cons list, and you've gotten
Yes.
to a maybe. That's not a bad thing.
No, our problem with them all season has been communication. And here we go. Heavy communication. All off screen, but we hear about a heavy communication.
We know that they talked about this intensely, and they make it
Yes.
very clear that it's a Cory wants to, but he could accept a no.
Yes, he is not willing to force the issue if Topanga is not ready. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, from the way his and Sean's conversation go, Topanga gets the final call.
Mm-hmm.
Because Topanga
Which is
said
fair.
maybe. Yes. So Alan and Amy come in as they're high-fiving on Topanga
hold on.
saying maybe.
Before you go too fast, Brad, Sean, as a teenager, I thought, gosh, that's the way Sean, like, let it be. Whenever it happens. But Sean just, he feels more embarrassed that it could happen than Cory.
He is remarkably shy about talking about this with Cory.
Mm-hmm.
With as much as, with all of the talk of making out and all the dating that he's done and what Cory has been privy to of what he's done, he is remarkably shy all of a sudden.
But, I mean, to be honest, he's still a teenage boy. And,
he's in a relationship that's
okay.
not like what he's been in before.
That's very true.
Yeah. So they're gonna get excited over maybe. High five. Alan is gonna come in, and I clipped this little conversation Alan has with them.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe what?
It's just guy stuff. Oh, guy stuff on prom night. Sit down. Listen, your senior prom can be a night to remember without it being a big night. Cory, I want you to remember that things can happen in a minute that could change your life forever. You understand me?
Yes, Dad. Yes, Dad.
All right. Have a great time.
Wait. Picture the boys on prom night. Have a great time.
All right, bye.
Now, maybe this is an early 90s thing, maybe post 2000s, but one picture, Amy? One picture? That's it?
No. This was Hollywood. This could be distracted Amy, but this is definitely not what would be the norm. But regarding Alan's talk, we're assuming that Alan has had more than one talk with Cory about the birds and the bees. That he's had multiple conversations with Cory, and we can infer from some of his other conversations on screen that he's had talks with him about specifically respecting Topanga as an individual.
We can even go back to season 2 with the whole Cory and Topanga sleeping side by side with each other and what else happened, and
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't. I'm reminded of Mr. Feeney with that I don't know. I think of that and I go back to immediately Mr. Feeney waking them up. But so we know that he's already had the conversation about sex. We know he's already had the conversation about respect and all of that entails. So what we see on screen, it is very brief. It is very censor friendly. It does get across the point that, hey, no matter what you do tonight, you could do something that in a moment could have a massive impact on your life, which is code for you could have sex and get pregnant.
Yeah.
So granted, we have a 22-minute window to tell a story. It is a little bit sad that the only thing that they chose to focus on was the potential for unplanned pregnancy, that there are a lot of other things that go along with sex than just the potential for pregnancy. Emotional impacts, potential health risks if you're not clean, shall we say. We'll just keep that as tidy as we can. But all in all, there's a lot of other things that can go along with that. But so for the purpose of this story that they're telling, they're going to focus on the potential for unplanned pregnancy. Because we have another clip here as soon as the boys walk out the door.
How'd I do?
Oh, honey, you were great. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm pregnant. I'm not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Here.
Oh, well, these things aren't right always, the first.
Aren't you happy?
Well, I don't understand the question.
You're not happy at all.
Oh, honey.
I feel for Alan, and we've both we both have had unplanned kids come along. I think I've told the story before here of my own third child that came along unprepared. We were not expecting him, and it's just all of a sudden, hey, there we go. I'm pregnant. Oh yeah, okay, all right, there we go. It's a lot to be surprised by it, and I find Alan's response very genuine. And
I think you're allowed to have a window of slight panic and fear.
Amy's had time to sit with this and know, hey, I'm pregnant. I can get excited about this. Let's surprise Alan. And clearly not the response she wanted.
I just thought about a clip, and I want to see if I can play it through here. And if not, it's not going to work, but that's okay.
Hey, want me to make dinner?
Sure, but first, why don't you have a seat? There's something I need to show you.
Ooh, if it's how to make dinner, that'd be great. Is this a pregnancy test?
Yes.
That means positive?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I think Alan could have been more dramatic than what he was.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for Amy that she's sad, but at the same time, it's kind of unrealistic to expect Alan to just automatically be excited. I mean, he's kind of getting.
They have a child who is either 19 or 20, and another child who is 17 or 18.
Yeah,
one is out of the house in college, and one is about to leave the house and go to college. And they have another child that literally just comes and goes whenever she feels like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. We don't see a lot of her a lot of the time,
right? God,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, of how much we don't actually ever really see Morgan.
I don't think we've seen her since she was trying to decide which boy that gave her Valentine's candy was her boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the special episode where Eric goes to Hollywood.
Yeah, but that wasn't her.
But that's not Morgan. That's a 40-year-old lady playing a child.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, we got another new Matthews kid that's going to be on the way. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. Good looking people.
We will.
Yeah, so we get to check in on the on the ladies of the other half of the prom goers. I do find it kind of interesting, real world, that Trina was pregnant this whole time, and here we
Hmm,
are, an episode about unplanned pregnancy. Yes,
that
good
is
looking
interesting.
people. Real world, the actress who plays Angela was pregnant from before, and then there was Sean all the way through, I believe, through past the end of the season. She was definitely pregnant this episode.
I believe it. I mean, they hide it well.
Yeah,
So
they do a good job of hiding it. She definitely still was pregnant. She's spoken about still being pregnant this episode, and that's why you see them hiding it. But they
mhm.
reiterate everything that they've talked about with their boyfriends, and we get to we get a real limo, not Uncle Laszlo's hearse.
Real limo. I like how the way they describe in their in their conversation though, Brett, because with Topanga it's very clear of if I feel it's right, then I'm a yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Angela's very firm on my boyfriend won't even use the word in front of me, so it's a no until
Mm-hmm.
we can have a conversation.
Yeah. I wonder if this would count as passing the Bechdel test, because they are talking about guys, but they're also talking about having all the power in the relationship.
Well, and that's the thing. Even if it doesn't pass the Bechdel test, the fact that in the 90s they're communicating that as women we have the right to choose before we get there or even during prom, like I really appreciate it, I think it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as good today with the amount of media that's come out since? No, this feels kind of weak, but back then first
But
came
for
out,
1998, this was actually pretty bold.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
We had a very lackluster at Topanga's aunt's house of no
yeah, this
parents,
is
no adults, just
no parents came up to visit their children who were. We don't have Angela's dad or
hmm
mom. We
hmm
don't have either Jedediah or Chloe or Rhiannon.
Could
I forget which
w-
one she is at this point.
could you imagine the original Jedediah coming and trying to take pictures, Brett, and being all awkward and
Getting all
threatening
distracted.
Cory?
Oh
Gosh,
yeah.
we missed out on something. Brett, you know how they like to recast Jedediah? What
uh,
if the hotel guy was actually the new Jedediah? We could have had him for multiple episodes.
I so want that now.
Ah. Okay,
Oh
we need
man.
someone to do a hard cut of the guy from Parks and Rec doing all of the Jedediah stuff. With AI technology, Brett, we could do it. We
We
could make it
could.
happen.
Someone who's got more time than me. Good looking people, if you've got more time on your hands than I do, go out there
Someone
and do it.
we need a hero.
We need a hero. Ooh. Oh yeah. So anyway, no parents come out to do
Mhm.
pictures and stuff with the girls.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. And not
Uh-huh.
even Aunt Prudence is there. And I know real world, they can't get the actors in there, especially just for one scene.
Yeah.
But in world, come on.
Yeah.
We have one picture of the boys. There's no Chet. There's no Verna. I mean,
Well,
maybe they did pictures at the trailer park before they went to the Matthews.
hmm,
Maybe,
yeah.
but nothing with the girls. Come on, we really missed out on a
Brett,
lot here.
we blew our budget on the legendary character Howie.
I know Howie, Sean, and Angela have gone out to the limo, and there's a knock at the doorbell. Howie shows up at the door. Howie is Jarrett Lennon. First and only appearance on Boy Meets World. 72 acting credits, including Growing Pains, Empty Nest, ER, Doogie Howser, Quantum Leap, The Wonder Years, Dinosaurs, Cheers, Lois and Clark, California Dreams, The Secret World of Alex Max, Smart Guy, She's All That, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Gilmore Girls, Entourage, and more. Howie has guilted his way to joining a date for
Mhm.
prom with Cory and Topanga, which I
I mean,
don't know that I buy that Topanga
with
would really go for.
With the amount of nerds, though, Brett, that they've cast in the past, I don't know why they didn't bring one of them back.
I was thinking the same thing. What about Alvin?
Alvin, he was pretty popular even as a nerd.
I know. I want one of our former nerds.
Yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
well.
Howie shows up, and apparently he invited Topanga to the prom a couple weeks ago without actually inviting her to the prom, and just
Are you
shows up.
going with anyone? No? Okay.
His mom didn't think that it was actually going to happen, but his dad drove him over.
Mhm. Must be a dark family.
Must be.
I
But
do like of Topanga communicating, though. If he is at home upset and he's mad at me, I will not be able to have a good time.
yes, there is, for as much as Cory and Topanga have not communicated this season, they are communicating very well. It's almost over communication, which is not a bad
Mhm.
thing in this episode.
Mm.
It's almost like they're making up for all of their miscommunication this season.
Mhm.
But either way, Howie emotionally manipulates his way into a prom date with Cory and Topanga,
Mhm.
and we find out at the prom after they've walked in, another nerd named Samsky did the same thing with another couple. Hey
Now, Brett,
Samsky, look who I'm here with.
let's do a headcanon. Let's call this a Dad's Meet World headcanon. The two boys that Cory and Sean kept throwing doors in front of and messing up their first day at the school. Let's just pretend those two boys are those two guys and they're getting one up on Cory, and I'm assuming a jock who bullied him, that they're showing up and quote unquote their dates.
I can buy it. I can
Why
get
not?
behind that headcanon. I can get behind it. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the chaperones here. We've got Feeney, who, of course,
We have Feeney.
as principal, not a surprise there.
Do
I
we have
guess,
chaperone on our?
I don't know. We probably don't. I probably need to add that to Feeney's business card. So prom chaperone goes on Feeney's business card. But we also have
Might
a
as well.
couple of college freshmen.
Yeah.
Jack and Eric are chaperoning the dance.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious
either a
how they
year or
got.
two away from college or high school, and they're chaperoning.
Yeah, when I was in youth ministry, I wouldn't let college freshmen I wouldn't let them chaperone high school events for student ministry purposes. But here they are chaperoning the biggest night of the year for high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there. They had to figure out how to get them into the episode, so they're chaperones.
Hey, listen. They found worse ways of getting Eric into an episode, so having them be prom chaperones, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's not the worst way to get them involved. So I mean, I'll give them credit. There are worse ways they could have gotten.
Yeah. Now I will say, and you may hear this later on, might not, I don't know, but my wife, I did like her idea. It would be interesting if this was a two-part episode, like at least we're getting ready for prom episode, and then prom. Like there's so much going on that happens before this episode that it would have been fun to have scenes they talked about play out beforehand, like Feeney being short chaperones and him stumbling upon Eric and Jack. That would be fun because that's something that would be
Yeah.
interesting. Cory and Topanga having their charts and trying to talk through everything. Maybe we have an episode where Amy is acting kind of different, and Alan and Amy being on this weird situation of she's a little more emotional. I don't know what to do with her. There's just
Mhm.
there's things they could have done that would help to indicate of what's going on this episode, because it feels like, hey, it's prom. Oh my gosh, a lot's happening.
Yeah. And so, but either way, we got chaperones. We got
Yep.
kids at prom. We got a band.
Mhm.
And we've got Erica and Jack. They are talking about how at prom, both of them were so focused on what might happen after prom that they don't remember anything else that happened at their prom. And this kind of sets up, well, it doesn't really set up. It just furthers the conversation about where we're at, where the focus on this is not prom itself, but what could be happening after prom. Which, granted, knowing
both Cory and Eric, Sean make the joke of, "Wow, this has been a really long night," and they're both like, "We just got here."
Yeah, that I have my notes. How long have we been at prom? Prom is really just a stepping stone to everything after. And granted, having been alive in the 90s, and I'm sure it was this, I was alive in the 80s too. After prom was actually, there is some truth to the way it's presented here. That there was truth to after prom was a thing. There were a lot of churches I knew of that were trying to counter program with having their own after prom events so that they would hopefully stem the tide of teenagers going out and getting hotel rooms and whatnot. But Cory and Topanga are dancing. They're talking about how they're adults now, and or they've been, they didn't just get here. They've gone through a whole lot to get here. And Topanga says, "Let's get a hotel room." And Cory faints right there on the dance floor.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny that another episode of Big Bang Theory comes to mind because Sheldon says, "Me and Amy have been through so much. I want to give her something special, something to help her understand how important she is to me."
It's settled. For her birthday, Amy Farrah Fowler will have my genitals.
But, I think what I like about their conversation is they are, again, talking it out, Brett.
They are. Again,
'Cause
more communication.
In the past, Cory has tried to make quote unquote moves and be romantic, and Topanga would say, "What are you expecting to happen here?"
Yeah,
Because he
got
didn't
candles in
communicate
the
ahead of time.
room. There's music on. Well, Sean and this other girl, he had her over the whole night. Dangerous Secret. Good looking people. Go listen to that episode.
Let's be honest, Brett. It is interesting how many parallels to former episodes we have had leading up to this point. And this is by far the most that they've been very direct in talking about sex, and also the most communication that at least Cory and Topanga have had leading into the decision of, let's get a hotel room.
Yeah. I would like to see the show define adult relationship, though, because it is used here where Cory is explaining they have an adult relationship. Is it just sex? I mean, I know we're looking at Cory's definition, but to him, is that the dividing line between teenage relationship and adult relationship? Like, are they in an adult relationship and this is the icing on the cake, or is that what will take them to an adult relationship? A little confusing.
Being that he is a teenager and still in high school, I'd say it is the
so
former.
let's figure something out here, because they say they're adults now. We haven't had a birthday on the show since Cory turned 16.
Yeah.
In season 4. At the end of season 4, might I add, which would imply that we're talking 17-year-olds here. So, I mean, granted, they are also about to graduate, and in 1998, it was the norm. Most guys who were graduating were 18, unless you had a really late birthday, and Cory clearly did not have a late birthday. So maybe there was we're playing funky with time. So are we going to say they're 17 or 18?
At the start of 11th or 6th grade, he was 11 years old. That same season, Brett, he turned 13.
Yeah, I know we're talking. I know we're talking unreliable narrator, but just playing with the numbers here. But
Brett, can we get to the best the
Oh, we
best
definitely
character and
can.
the best
My
interactions?
new favorite supporting character is he's credited as Hotel Man, the clerk at the
Perfect.
desk at the desk counter, is played by John Balma. The first of 2 appearances on Boy Meets World. He'll show up again in It's About Time. 51 acting credits, including Will and Grace, Third Rock from the Sun, Suddenly Susan, Gilmore Girls, Alias, George Lopez, Star Trek Enterprise, Friends, Scrubs, The West Wing, Grey's Anatomy, Superstore, and where I know him the most as 9 episodes of Parks and Rec as Barney, and a whole lot
Yeah,
more. This was only his 3rd acting credit in Hollywood.
that's awesome.
He is fantastic. I want more of him. He is great with Cory. He is hilarious with Eric. I want more of Hotel Man.
Hmm.
I don't have any video clips of him and Cory or him and Eric, just because I couldn't decide on which ones to clip.
It's okay. I fully understand. It's all amazing.
I do
It's
have
like
some. I
it's
do have a couple of select audio ones, but
good.
yes,
It really is one of those you have to watch the whole thing and just appreciate the goodness of it. I
it
was,
is.
I was trying to put my son to bed and I was watching this episode and I was shaking his bed because of how much I was laughing.
Yes. Oh, yes. Like, I mean, the whole thing. Cory is. He asks for a name, Don Quixote, and asking him things like,
And exactly how tired are you?
Yes, I like how he is very coy because he's saying things like, "I'm tired. What would you recommend for someone this tired?" He goes, "Well, have you ever been tired before?"
"Yes, if I don't get to bed, I might go to sleep right here." Ah, yes.
So, 1 room, 1 bed, 1 big night.
Address?
Oh,
Why?
yes. Name? Well, we just need something to put in the computer. Any name will do. I'll just need a credit card. Credit card? Oh, did I catch you off guard, Senor Quixote?
I do.
It's
Okay,
perfect.
can we be honest for a moment, Brett? I think at this point we've established that Corey is obsessed with deposits. I think Corey does have his own credit card, but he just simply didn't bring it
He doesn't
because
have it.
he's a teenager.
Corey at this point at least has his own bank account, at
Right.
least a savings account. He at least has some sort of bank card.
So I love how he tries to run over to Eric and be like, "It's an emergency. I need your credit card. It might be maxed out because I
I just
bought
bought
some
some
gum."
gum.
What is his credit limit?
I have to say, Ben's nervous energy he acts with from this point out through the rest of the episode, I am here for. It is absolutely hilarious. It works for me.
Hmm.
I will say they did have a small slip up in 1998. Even then, an ID would have been needed to process the credit card. Small detail, but okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
a
you gotta
room for
imagine, Brett, that these are selected hotel rooms that are all you need is a credit card, and
this is a
with
guy
it
who
being
gave out information for $1
that
on
this is a prom, a hotel at a prom, Brad. There's probably blocks selected for teenagers, so they're being safe and staying on campus.
probably. Yeah.
On property, not driving drunk or anything like that.
I mean, well, let's say he did ask for well, no, because he only gave 2 information. He only gave 2 names, so they didn't ask for Corey's ID.
Hmm.
But so there you go. Room 201, what is it, 302 or whatever it is for the
702.
Formerly Don Quixote, currently Eric Matthews. Oh yeah. So Ben. Corey's off to get the room, and we have
Mhm.
Amy and Alan coming into the hotel. And I have to ask two questions about their
Uh-huh.
entrance.
Uh-huh.
One, why would they pick the same hotel that their kid's prom is at? That's
Uh-huh.
going to be a loud, busy, annoying hotel.
Uh-huh.
for a quiet, sexy time Nick cut celebration.
Uh-huh.
And 2, have they really not spent the night in a hotel since their own high school prom?
Yeah, I mean,
They've been married for over 20 years.
Amy and Alan seem like the type of people who would have someone watch their kids for a night just so they could go get a hotel together,
They
at
used to
least for
write
an anniversary.
poetry to each other to have secret rendezvous between
Right.
Boom Boom and Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
strike
I
me as
will.
the kind of couple who would.
Yeah, I do get of like, hey, should we waste money on a hotel room or have a nice dinner and then come home and just make sure no kids are home? I could understand that.
I can understand that too, but at the same time,
And they
as
get
someone
hotel rooms, but it's with the kids, you know. I
at the
know.
same time as someone who's been married for 20 years, I don't buy that they've never spent a night alone in a hotel room for 20 years time in the
Well, and maybe it's
maybe
Alan's
a
being a
nice
spur of the
hotel.
moment of
I might buy a nice hotel.
yeah. Well, the other thing I think of was that it's a spur of the moment. Like Alan's like, "Hey, let's go, let's celebrate," and then it's we're gonna go get a hotel room because we're being spontaneous.
Maybe.
But
But
apparently, Alan and Amy went to prom together.
I guess I'm trying to remember what we've played with their backstory before.
We have.
I don't remember when we decided they met.
I don't remember either. We're gonna have to go back through and figure out the lore of Alan and Amy.
Yeah.
Make sense of it all.
But kudos to Alan for stepping up. He very quickly came around to the idea of another kid.
Yeah.
And he seems genuine. Because this is...
Buddy. You okay? Sorry, my dog's having a bad dream.
Oh, that's okay. Because this is maybe an hour since he first found out. So, I mean, kudos to him for coming around so quickly and getting genuinely excited for the prospect of another kid.
You get the feeling because they have played, so maybe there's a meal involved at this prom as well. So maybe 2 hours at most.
Maybe. Depends on how long the kids have been at prom.
That's true. I don't know.
We'll say 2
There's
hours.
no clear timelines, Brett.
There's no understandable timeline here. But
Mhm.
Alan needs a room and he needs it quick. Ah, the voice of experience.
That's again, he has great timing and chemistry with all three of them.
Everyone. He does. He's fantastic. I want more of Hotel Man. I'm glad we get him back later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love okay, Brett, have you ever hugged a random lady anywhere that wasn't someone you've at least know a little bit?
I haven't.
Me neither.
Especially not when I'm celebrating the pregnancy with my wife. But I'm not Alan. Either way, Alan is so overjoyed he hugs a pretty woman played by Kim Seraphin. I'm giving her IMDb because she actually has a line. First and only time we'll see her in Boy Meets World. Only 5 acting credits, including Spin City, The Single Guy, Head Cases, and The Chelsea Handler Show. Hasn't been on camera since 2006. But Eric sees the hug and believes that Alan is checking into a hotel with a woman who is not his wife and not his mother.
Listen, with the evidence he has in front of his face, I get it.
Yeah, I don't blame him. That's all he sees. He sees his dad in an embrace with another woman at the counter where he's supposedly getting a hotel room.
I mean, real life, though, Brett, you'd walk up to your father and say something to the effect of, "What the hell are you doing here? And who is this?"
Yeah,
But
Eric's... I can also buy Eric being a little stunned and not knowing what to do. He needs a minute to gather himself.
Yeah. But in the sitcom world, he rushes back to his best friend who's trying to police people going and getting hotel
Jack
rooms.
tells him he's got prom fever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a real thing.
It's not. But we check in with Cory again. Cory is he's just so excitable. Seems like he's never checked into a hotel before, even though he spent an entire summer on the road with Eric where they checked into many a hotel. He's just very
Motels are
excitable.
different, though, Brett.
They are. And I'm sure they didn't spend any time at a hotel this nice.
Most hotels and motels are pretty similar now.
Yeah,
but back then.
They had keys. They had physical keys at the motels.
I do love the bit of he gets to the room. He's like, yes, wait, I'm forgetting something. The lady walks by. The girl.
Yes, the maid, Cindy Coyne. First and only time on Boy Meets World. Only 4 acting credits, including I Was on Mars, Law and Order Criminal Intent, and Burned. Again, has not been on camera since 2006.
Mm-hmm. I do like that Mr. Feeney is very impressed with Jack's desire to be a good chaperone.
Exactly. He's stepping up, not just hanging out with the high school kids, which it just hit me. One of the reasons I was really bothered by Eric and Jack as chaperones at this event, just a couple months ago, they were hitting on high school girls after they kidnapped Sean. Girls who might presumably be at this prom. And now they're in a position of authority as chaperones.
In a higher budget 2-parter special, one could argue that Jack and Eric would be their dates.
Yes, maybe.
I mean, honestly, they're not out of the range to be there as
only a year removed from high school. Most schools would allow them to come back as dates.
Even I think it's 2 years you have a range, and that's it. Like if you're, as long as you're not, I think it's like 21 is that cutoff of like no. But
yeah. But it's time to reveal the prom king and queen, and it's of course, Cory Matthews and Topanga Lawrence.
Mr. Feeney just claps so happily for them.
He does. Even though I don't buy Cory and Topanga as prom king and queen, they might be the sweethearts of John Adams High, but I don't think they did enough for the school to be prom king and queen. Do you?
Well, but that's the thing, Brett. We're going based on the narration that is provided to us by Cory. Of, them being these loners and losers, and when they broke up, it was gossip news in their school's paper, so it was a big deal.
So do we think they really were king and queen, or just king and queen in Cory's story?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, based on the stories and based on what we see, Brett, I think they're a lot more popular and more friends with people than we realize. But the show doesn't want us to see them actually being in high school, dealing with school things. So it feels like we're definitely dealing with the narrator doesn't want us to see what's going on. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. So were they really king and queen?
I'd say yes.
Okay. If they were as popular as we're led to believe, I can maybe buy that.
I mean, the way that this show makes it appear is though, to be popular at the school is just to be slightly nice and not be a giant jerk. So, and a lot of the jocks are giant jerks and no one likes them. So who do you go to? The couple that everyone knows.
Yeah. Who's going to vote for the jocks?
What goon started the fight? This one.
I do find it kind of weird that when Cory comes into the room to receive his crown, he thinks that a room of applauding people who are crowning he and Topanga is in response to being told that Cory and Topanga are about to have sex.
Yeah, I mean,
I know that's where his head's at, but I find that kind of weird.
You told him?
Topanga's look of disbelief is just priceless.
Yeah.
No.
I do like how Jack tries to stop them, and Cory just straight up goes right through him.
Everyone in that room knows where they're going.
Yeah. This won't be the first time they walk away from a very nice ballroom of a hotel to go to a hotel room.
Oh no, it will not. I'm
We'll
looking
get there,
forward to
Brett.
that
We'll get
episode.
there. Brett, let's go back to Hotel Man.
Yes, because he's by the way, Cory and Topanga get to their room. At Hotel Man, Eric gets his first interaction with Hotel Man. He wants to know what room Mr. Matthews is in. For Mr. Washington.
As a kid, I think whenever I saw this scene, I went, well, how's Mr. Washington going to help him? I don't understand. He's the first president, so that should mean something.
I have to
But
say,
I love his response. Ooh.
yes. Ooh. But he gives the information for $1, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, did he figure out it was Eric who?
Let's just say, if you realize that it's Eric Matthews, so he's giving him the information of Eric Matthews, then that would be. I mean, he paid for the hotel room, so sure.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think he just gave it to him for $1. I think this guy is just bored and
Could be.
really looking for some excitement.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking this is a jealous boyfriend or something, or a jealous ex, and he's thinking, yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All for his entertainment.
Yeah. Ooh. And Eric, we're gonna check in on Cory and Topanga because they're making out. Cory is getting stuck in his jacket.
Okay, but Brett, is this really making out, or is this just throwing a bunch of little peck kisses at each other? I know they can't really go too.
They really can't
big.
show. We're supposed to buy this as making out because this is ABC Friday night making out.
Yeah,
we're supposed to use our imagination, but yeah, this is. If you use your imagination, it gets really awkward. Yeah. So I'm not going to use my imagination.
I just tend to believe that they don't really know. They understand.
They understand making out.
To
making out
is a step
when they
towards
make out.
it, but I don't think the two of them really understand what it means to actually go deeper. What are the
well? They're
how
very
to get
nervous. They're
Yeah.
clearly very nervous and very uncertain.
Yes.
They don't really know what they're doing.
Their body language says we should not be here.
It does. They're very tense.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when they get interrupted, Cory's first response was, "Put me back. It's the Vice Squad." I've watched this episode 4 times in the last day and a half. And the last time I watched it with Kelly, and she laughed out loud so hard at the Vice Squad line.
Yep.
But they get interrupted, pounding on the door, and this is one of my clips here.
Okay! Don't do this! The trip isn't worth it! Hey, Topanga. Hi, Cory. Good, you guys got here first. Where's Dad?
Eric, do you not see this?
Wait a second. The guy said this was the Matthews room.
It is. Now get out.
So it's just you and Topanga?
Yes.
Alone in a hotel room?
Yes.
On prom night?
Yes.
So? What you doing? That's enough. Goodbye, Eric. Oh. Oh!
Oh, Eric. He's on a mission to finally confront Alan, and kudos to him for that. Cory is so focused on what's going on in the room. It does not click with him that there's something going on with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
That Eric is busting into his room looking for his dad and a tramp.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I will say about this and this little adorable interaction that Cory, Eric, and Topanga have is that in the past we have had Eric stumble upon Cory in weird spots, and he has made things uncomfortable. And I almost feel like for Eric in this moment, I know he's making jokes, but it's like hey, if they make this choice, it's theirs to make. I
Mhm.
can't give brotherly advice. Also, my focus is not on them right now. It's finding my father and the tramp. And I want to take a moment and just say, I think for Eric, it's I'm seeing my brother more as an adult, and he has to make his own choices, and he has to live with those choices.
Mhm. Yeah, one might imagine at this point he might even say,
Up top!
"Oh yeah." But we get Eric back down at the desk with Hotel Man.
This is my favorite scene, Brett.
Yes. Oh, demanding more. The wrong Mr. Matthews. He wants the cheating Mr. Matthews, the one he used to be able to respect as his daddy. Which room's he in? Which room's he in? Which room's he in?
So I'm afraid Mr. Washington has received all the information Mr. Washington is going to get. Now, if Mr. Franklin were asking,
Well, Mr. Franklin isn't here, but how about 2 Mr. Lincolns and a mystery bag?
that's my favorite, Brett. Eric, how long has Eric been holding a mystery bag? Is it just this? Is it just this tuxedo, or has he always had it on him?
I don't think he's opened it. I don't think he knows what's in it. Could be good, could be bad. And Hotel Man is very enticed by the mystery bag.
He is. I think he's just into the tea. He's looking for the stuff pre-TikTok. He's looking for drama.
He can
He's
make
looking for something
$10 in a
fun.
mystery bag and get a show here.
He wants a story.
Ooh. I've got to clip that. I tried
Yes,
to
you
clip
do.
it, but it wasn't clean enough. There's too much audience
Oh.
interaction there. It didn't come out clean. I wish I could get a clean one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Cory and Topanga back trying to go at it, and it's awkward.
Awkward again. Howie interrupts them. How Howie found them, I don't know.
He got there.
Howie gets there, and Howie's gonna go home with the clerk from the Hertz rent-a-car counter because she reminds him of her ex-husband.
It's grown woman.
Grown woman who,
Full-blown.
by the way, if you look in the tag, she's dancing with him at the prom in the background.
Yes. Chaperones should be stopping these type of shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, we know why Eric's distracted. He's going to be an uncle. But Jack, what's his excuse letting this clearly adult in to dance with Howie? Maybe she gave him a mystery bag.
Oh, one can only guess, Brett.
Ah, yeah. But Topanga's having second thoughts.
She is.
Yeah. Yeah, she wants
But I like
to...
that she's, again, communicating that second thought of maybe this
Yes.
isn't right, and maybe we need to be more spontaneous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really do like the communication. They're not... Cory's kind of listening, but kind of not. But ultimately, Topanga is... she rests on, I'll do whatever you think is right, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decide to go through with it. Cory gets poked in the eye.
Yes.
And instead of powering through, Topanga says, we're here all night. Go get some ice and some sodas.
Mm-hmm.
And there's...
You know how you got to get ice when you're at a hotel.
I always get ice when I'm at a hotel. I traveled a lot this last year. I've been in a lot of hotels. I had a lot of hotel ice. Now, I will say, I have the hijinks, most of the hijinks here clipped. There's a bit of suspension of disbelief here beyond why would the rooms for him and Topanga and Alan and Amy be side by side?
That bothers me.
That bothers me. That's just a little too convenient. But
other than the fact that the hotel man, Brett, wants the drama.
Maybe he saw Matthews and Matthews and said, "Oh, let me put them side by side because he's bored."
Brett, what other explanation is there? I could see it now. I work at a hotel. I once had a father and son claim rooms. I put them side by side because shenanigans. Like,
Yeah.
gosh,
But
I love this little hotel man really jacking up everyone's prom.
oh yeah, I want more of him. But anyway, as I said, I've clipped most of these shenanigans, so let's see them. If you're on YouTube, you should really be watching, because if you're not on YouTube, it's just going to be some dead air and sounds.
Yes! Honey, I'm back. Oh, come on out. Don't be shy, Siobhan. Let me see what's behind that door.
Yes! Honey?
You like?
Now, what do you think is more traumatizing, Brett? Seeing your potential future father-in-law sitting there in just his underwear, or seeing your own mother in lingerie?
I'm going to go with my own mother in lingerie.
I would as well, but I love the
They're both
acting on both of their
traumatizing.
face, because they are, yes, very much traumatized.
Oh yeah, they're both traumatizing. These are going to be on my board for a long time.
Maybe the traumatization is more of Alan, of not having his wife in the room.
Yeah. They're both traumatizing. I think Alan may be the most frightened of all four of them.
Yeah.
Because this is not a good situation for him to find himself in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
yes.
yeah, Cory.
Okay.
Like I said, there's some suspension of disbelief here.
In the transcripts, it's just honey,
Oh yeah.
But Eric also stumbles in, Brett.
Yeah, and I clipped this one as well because I love the way Will plays it through to the end.
Nobody planned this. I mean, it wasn't something we planned on. It just kind of happened, you know? It was like one of those wonderful miracles that's happened to me 3 times before already.
Nag!
You don't even live in the house anymore. It's not like I'm asking you to give up your room.
Wait a second, you're moving her into the house? I can't do this anymore. I gotta know who's in there. Come out now! Topanga? Oh, Daddy. How could you do this to Mom? And Cory? Oh, I am so out of the loop.
Wait a minute. What are you guys doing here?
We're celebrating.
We were gonna tell you tomorrow, but
We're having a baby.
You're having a baby?
We're having a baby. They're having a baby. I'm gonna be an uncle.
Oh, Eric.
Eric's range of emotions in that. Will is on point with his range of emotions there. It's fantastic. Oh yeah, it's and just it's a classic trope of misunderstood location, and person A goes into location B and said to be they should have been in location A and whatnot. I mean, it's a trope, but it's a fun trope. And yes, I said there is suspension of disbelief, but I'm willing to suspend it for amusement's sake.
Yeah.
But the news is out. They're gonna have a baby. But Alan and Amy take an opportunity to do something here that I would not respond the same way Alan and Amy did.
Right.
My first response to see that my son and his girlfriend had rented a hotel room and prom was still going on downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
My response would not be the same as Alan and Amy's. I would have pulled my son aside and we'd be having a rather lengthy discussion right then.
Yes. I agree. Yeah, I mean, there's a part of it of they're trying to communicate of we trust you as to make the right choice, and they walk away. But I mean, yeah, that's part of my suspension of disbelief is like you wouldn't say something to your child. Also, you're about to go into a room that's right beside the one your son is currently occupying as well.
The only thing I can think of, the only way I can justify this is in what they say after this. Sometimes things can happen in a minute that will change your life forever. And we're just lucky that for us, it came at a time we can handle it. It builds on what Alan said before they left for prom. And
True.
if they go into their room, leaving Cory and Topanga to make their own decision, and just sat there and listened for the door next door to open and close and open and close again, and they watched out that little peephole in the door, I can buy that.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I can buy that.
Yeah. My only question, Spread, is who's staying in that hotel room?
That's a good question. Eric and Jack.
Yes. I, those little dumb things that yeah, I come out. Well, I do love I'm not saying they started this trope, Brett, but this is definitely a trope of switching keys, and ending up in the wrong room and chaos ensuing after that.
Yeah, the hardest part of the whole suspension of disbelief after you get past the hole, they're in the rooms right next to each other. How do you not go back in the same room? I know your room number is on your key, and that's what they show them looking at to figure it out. But Cory's room had a do not disturb sign on the door. Alan and Amy's didn't.
Right.
And
Well, Brett, I don't think their brains were the things that were moving them at the moment.
their brains did not have all of their blood. So Cory and Topanga do make the right choice, especially through the language of the show with the music playing in the background. And we do not have the hashtag Nick Nick cut for them this week. We probably do for Alan and Amy, but that's not what we're here for. And the tag is there's dancing. Cory is talking about how there's nowhere else he'd rather be right now doing. There's nothing else he'd rather be doing. And there's some unspoken communication between him and Sean as to whether or not anything happened. And that's the episode.
Yeah. I mean, it ends on a positive note, Brett, if they made the right choice.
It does. It really does.
I mean, they could technically cancel the room, although I feel like they'll still have to charge them because they were on the bed for a few minutes, so
Yeah, I don't think they're getting their money back.
no. Although that gum, he may have to be worried about that
I would
drop in
be.
the hat.
I would be. So Tyler, do you have any actually before we go into the deep dives, good looking people,
Yes.
we are going to bring the moms in because we managed to get the moms for this week's episode and get some of their opinions on what this episode does right, what it does wrong, and what it means to the moms as well.
Yes.
So let's bring them in. Moms, welcome back to Dad's Meet World.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
You are very welcome, and thank you very much for stopping in.
Yes.
And tonight, well, this week, this episode is all about that magical 3-letter word that the 90s were concerned about: sex and unplanned pregnancies. Woohoo! Because that's the only thing sex can lead to.
And prom, Brett.
And prom. So what were your prom nights like?
I mean,
First of all, let's go with a little more basic, Brad. What was your prom in general experience compared to what they showed in the show? Because from the show's perspective,
Well, that's kind of
you
what
just
I was getting to.
hop in the car and you go. Well, to say prom night infers to something different than just the dance, Brett.
Well, if you have a dirty mind, yes, but fair.
well, I just
Well,
want
yes, prom
the
experience.
parents just not taking a crap ton of pictures beforehand, like
Or
taking
youth
pictures
pastors.
of the dates, like together. Like Cory and Sean just go and pick up Angela and Topanga, and that's it.
And there's no
Like,
parents.
yeah,
In
there's
a
no
limo.
parents. Nobody taking group photos and photos with friends of all of them.
Yeah.
Like, we had a whole photo shoot with
We did
like,
too.
yeah, and you go with like
I've
a big
seen
group
photos
of
of your
people.
prom.
You have seen photos
have,
of my
yes.
prom.
I think I've seen photos of your prom as well.
You probably have. It was a big deal. I was very proud of my senior prom.
Right. So the fact that like just Amy snapped one picture of Cory and Sean, like not even a picture of Cory and Topanga together, like
That was big.
it just that doesn't it doesn't
They didn't
track.
follow the
No.
limo.
Right. And then watch them like all walk in. Like that's like a big deal. Like at our proms, like even now, like at Cory, like people still go to watch everybody come in.
We
I was gonna say,
we
isn't it like a
traveled.
parade?
Doesn't Cory
Yeah.
still have people come in on like tractors and stuff?
Not as much.
Not as much anymore. Or maybe that was a first or last day of school thing. I'm remembering.
Well, no. When I went to prom, it was in the school gymnasium. Nowadays, they go to a ski resort where they will do an entrance and people will still drive stuff, but more often they're just driving whatever.
Okay. Yeah, but even still today, even for homecoming, we still get together and do photos. We did homecoming last year and for Toby, and we did a big group photo session with a bunch of other parents.
Yeah, so I don't want to throw out the numbers, Kelly, but you went to prom after this episode came out. So could you imagine your experience where your parents only took one picture, or your parents weren't even there because they were in a different city?
Oh, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just too big of a deal. Like
we had a limo. We had 5 couples.
Did you ever do a
lots of
limo?
parents.
No, neither did we.
No,
I did.
My date his dad had a BMW.
Ooh, fancy.
Oh, with the same guy 2 years in a row. So.
Oh, that's right. I forget that. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like they act like the going to prom is not a big deal whatsoever.
Right, it's
which
a big
is,
deal.
Yeah.
Well, and like ours was. This is another thing. Like ours was at our high school. Like, well, I mean, granted, Bradford doesn't have like many like real fancy hotels, but it was like ours was at our high school, so people would like gather in the high school parking lot just to watch people come up, like, and even like underclassmen who were friends with like the people going to prom, or like families. Like it's always so crowded. Like people who graduated who are still friends, because like after I had graduated, I went the next year with some friends of mine just to like see our friends go to prom. So like it's just the going into prom is a bigger deal than.
Hey, here's a fun question for 2 people who have teenagers. If your teenagers were going to a prom at a hotel, would you get a room at said hotel for the night?
The only way I would is if we were like purposefully going to like mess with our kids, not for a romantic evening together.
Which I would totally be up for.
Right. Like if we were messing
And
with
also,
them, sure.
if you ran into said teenagers in the hallway, you would be totally cool with just going into your room and just leaving them.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Would you be okay if your rooms were side by side with your said teenager? Could you go in and, for lack of better word, do it, Brett?
No. I don't know. It depends on how old the hotel is. Kelly and I were talking about this when we watched the episode about an hour, maybe an hour ago at most. And one of the first things that she said after we were done was, no. Regarding that very scene when Alan and Amy are just like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, just make
Bye,
good
guys.
choices.
Yeah, make good choices as you're walking into a hotel room
Okay,
next
bye.
to us.
It's totally not the way that we would have responded if we walk out in the hallway and there's our kid right there in a hotel room at prom.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't have teenagers, but I can't say that I could think that I would be able to do that in the future.
Yeah, no, not for us. So to quote my former youth pastor's wife, who, for lack of better wording, in 2007 forced me and a bunch of my friends to go on a sex retreat and get real about sex.
Okay, now, before we get any further, you might want to clarify for the good-looking people at home what exactly a sex retreat was.
An abstinence retreat.
Yes, your face is absolutely the same shade as the ribbon on that decoration behind you.
Okay. So since I'm the one that planned the retreat for the looking people, it was an abstinence retreat. We called it the sex retreat to kind of, be cool about it, I guess. But every parent signed permission slips for their kids.
It was all marketing.
And it was very well chaperoned, and we played in the snow more than anything else. So
oh yeah. No, it was entirely built around an educational experience because the church tends to shy away from teaching. The church tends to shy away from sex, period, other than to say don't do it. And so the conceit of the retreat was to take time to dive into the subject at an educational standpoint and apply biblical principles to it. And so, yes, we didn't make you. You signed up and volunteered and paid to go on the retreat.
I in no way, shape, or form forced children to go to a campground with me for
Now,
a sex
yes, we did make you guys help dig cars out because there was a blizzard that weekend and we got snowed in getting in.
Oh, Sarah, I could not get my little car up the hill.
I can imagine.
Around the
It's not.
curve.
That's a
It
very
was awful.
steep hill.
Suzuki Arios are not made for that driveway.
No. Well, that was a freak October weather surprise for us.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. We're way off track, guys.
But I have also been to one of those abstinence first church retreats too.
Now, it wasn't like a silver ring thing where we had everyone sign purity pledges and everything, though.
No. But we got real about the topic that now my child's in the room and I want to be cautious about.
Go to bed.
No, let's get real for a moment and have a true and honest conversation. AKA, the people in this episode could not have a real and honest conversation.
No. Sean's too shy.
Even Sean, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Sean the
clearly
ladies
Sean
man.
who would get as sick as he could but wouldn't actually die in a horror movie. Yeah, so he's not able to talk about it beyond sit in the back seat of a limo and play. Cory and Topanga apparently graphed things out, and Alan just kind of speaks in euphemisms. Now, granted, a lot of that is due to ABC censorship, and there's only so much you can say in a primetime time slot at 8:30 p.m., but still.
So, ladies, how did you feel they handled the conversations about sex, in particular in the fact that it was more in the realm of boys, be respectful? and there was no communication to the women about what they should do.
It was very poor.
Would you like to elaborate?
Well, that wasn't like it was basically just hey, if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant and die, like Mean Girls style talk. Like it wasn't in depth or it wasn't very groundbreaking. Here, take some rubbers, like.
Kelly?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed either. The one thing I did like is they did allude to that, like, the girls had a say so, and
Yeah.
a choice within the matter. Of course, in Cory Topanga style, planning everything out and charts and graphs and the whole thing. Like, I liked how that was a joint decision, but teenagers watching the show aren't gonna pick up on any of that.
How did you feel they handled the whole Amy and Alan are have a surprise baby? And how do you feel about the whole surprise babies?
As someone who has a surprise baby, I feel like Alan's reaction is completely normal and justified as someone who thought they were done and have one out of the house and one as a senior. Like, I get that she's hormonal and her getting upset, but he needed time to process. It's ridiculous because I needed time to process because I wasn't supposed to have another one.
Right?
I wasn't just instantly happy. I mean, I was, but like it's a mixed bag of emotion,
and yeah,
the surprise is now crying.
Let's say I was the one who was instantly happy, and it took you a couple of seconds. Kelly, more thoughts on this matter?
Well, we had a surprise baby too.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the age difference is only 5 years, so it wasn't as huge of a thing. Oh, May. Uh, but when I woke up Brett to tell him, I said, "Please don't be mad at me."
Now, granted, just for context, we had been joking for weeks about, oh, we should have another one, and we were both adamantly against the idea.
Yes, very much so. So
Mhm.
I got Alan's response too, and I was like, "Oh, Amy." But I'll tell you what, we wouldn't celebrate immediately going out to a hotel and having sexy time because that's just
No.
not how life works.
Oh,
Yeah.
conveniently, everyone's out of the house. Let's go
to the hotel our kids' prom's at. That sounds great.
Well, I don't know. We'll talk more. I'm sure we've already talked about the things of the consistency in this episode already,
Right.
Brett. But it feels like the show didn't know how to fully dive into all this territory.
They had a hard time dovetailing both of these stories together.
But how? Okay, I think a positive was the way that Jack was handling the episode.
Oh yeah, Jack was a really good chaperone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how did Jack and Eric get to be chaperones?
I know. I feel like that's a little dicey having people who are barely older than the people there be chaperones.
There was a full-grown woman dancing with a teenager.
Yeah,
from the Hertz rental counter.
Like there's some questionable.
Can I say one more thing about another moment that drove me crazy?
Please do.
Absolutely.
When they get crowned prom king and queen and they're running off the stage and Feeney's just clapping and clapping, watching them walk away like they're married. And they're just
right.
I'm like, why is Feeny not going? Where are you going?
Right. He is this chaperone. Like, you're responsible for them.
Oh,
Yes.
man. Yeah, so lots of
Like, there's a
weird things.
responsibility of the chaperones and the teachers there.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kelly, did prom king and queen at you for yours? Did they have to dance together at least once?
Yeah,
Yeah, right after they got crowned.
right after they get crowned, there's a dance and
weren't they more socially involved in school? Like, you
it
know,
was the popular kids.
Exactly.
I'm
Way
sure there were like a
popular.
football player and a cheerleader or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I genuinely can't I can remember who the prom queen was because she was like kind of a friend of mine. But she was popular. She wasn't like a cheerleader, but she was generally popular. I can't remember who the prom king was, but I'm sure he was popular and probably played football. That's normally how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so,
fair.
moms, if you could rewrite some of this episode, either to give a little more agency to the moms, or to Topanga and Angela's parents, or whatever the meta message is, what would you change to make this a different episode for you that would be more, I don't know, a more enjoyable or informative, or however you might want to phrase it?
Okay, well, first off, it would be a 2-part episode because you cannot have this series of a topic in one 20-minute session and lump in parents being pregnant.
This week on a very special Boy Meets World.
Yeah. So it's a 2-part episode.
So you want to see them making the charts and the graphs and going over the pros and cons.
Well, and I also think the conversation needs to be, I mean, I get it's not a drama, it's like a comedy, but like you can be comedic and still have a touch more seriousness to the conversation with the parents, and also like having a conversation with the girls too, like even if it's coming from Amy, like
you almost want like a lead-in episode to this.
And then you also could have a lot of fun and funniness if you do the awkward family like pictures with your families watching and all that, like really lean into that.
It's almost like the Lawrence parents should have been there.
Yeah, like your daughter's going to her senior prom. You wouldn't want to see that.
You wouldn't come out for a weekend from Pittsburgh.
Right.
We drove up from my sister going her sophomore prom.
Right. Like we've driven for your sister's prom. You drove because your sister was nominated for homecoming.
Right.
Like when we were living in Pittsburgh, like, so I feel like also like nominations for king and queen, like
it's a process.
It's a process. It's not just that day. So like she would have known days ahead of time that she was nominated. You wouldn't tell your parents and be like, oh my gosh, I'm nominated. And also the parents could come in if you were nominated for prom king and queen to watch you get crowned. So there's a lot of
run off with your paramour.
Yeah, there should have been a lot more parent involvement here.
What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, I like Sarah's ideas a lot. I love the 2-part episode idea because I think it would be cool to see, like you said, Topanga and Cory having that conversation together. It'd be more fun to see more of Sean and Angela too. With that, yeah, I think more conversation just leading up to it would be great.
We really don't get a lot of Sean and Angela in this one.
No. And I mean, but I think it's more about Cory and Topanga, like about the culmination. They see sex as the culmination of their relationship over the last 15 years, and now they're adults. So I'm assuming they're 18 in the episode. I haven't watched chronologically in a while, but
We kind of assume so. They haven't definitively said any birthdays since Cory's 16th birthday, but
Yeah, so
they're
he
about to
kept saying
graduate, so we
we're
assume
adults.
so.
So I mean, they're 18-year-olds, and I do like the fact that the show waited to handle this until they were adults. I don't know, it felt a little bit better to me.
Felt a little less icky.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hmm.
I do like about Sean and Angela that Angela's like, listen, he can't even say the word, so he's not mature enough to do it.
Right?
And I do
Yes.
like appreciate her strength in that, like, if he can't even talk about it, he's not mature enough to do it.
Mhm.
Yes, I was glad to hear that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you just, I guess, wrapping this up, do you think that Alan communicated well to the boys on the seriousness of the nature of prom night, expectations, and how to behave themselves?
No.
Kelly, do you also feel the same way?
I do and I don't, because like if I'm taking it within the context of 90s sitcom television, he actually did okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm
But
also,
if we're talking about real world, no, no, that wasn't enough. It was a good
and I
point
guess
though.
like there's also like the assumption that he's had these conversations before. So I mean, maybe as an add-on, like it would be like if it's like a, hey, you remember what we talked about? Like 1 minute can change everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
eh.
She's pointing at our baby sitting on her lap.
Listen,
Yeah.
I love all of our children, but would I choose to have two babies like so close in age to each other? No.
No, probably not. How many months
Two
apart are
under
they?
two
Mhm.
is rough.
It's
So what
hard.
I'm hearing, the moms are trying to communicate is that just because someone has sex does not mean that they will have a baby, but it's a very real possibility.
Correct. And there's a whole list of other things that could happen.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's no talk of the emotional part of things. Um there's no talk of uh infections, diseases,
Right.
you know.
Like how you're gonna feel like them on the emotional part, like it's a really serious act. Like it's you emotionally give yourself to somebody else. Okay, it felt a little ridiculous at the time, but on my abstinence retreat, we had to take two construction paper hearts and we had to
Oh
glue them
yes.
together. And like then you were supposed to try and like later on rip them apart, and like it shows like how much of you leave behind with somebody.
Right.
And like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it sounds silly whenever you're a teenager and you're like, well, that's not true, but like
It is.
it is true though.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is that the abstinence retreat scare tactics work.
I don't know that they work in the time frame of you're a teenager,
Right.
but as an adult I can look back and appreciate the message.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
Yes.
I'm trying to find that fine balance of we're having a fun conversation. This is also a serious conversation. So
Right.
Yes. It's both.
yeah. Also, I think
Hindsight's 2020.
this is a good point to say, since we're talking very openly and honestly. If someone has sex, say on prom night or before they're married, they are not the most evilest person on the planet. They are
No.
not going to be condemned. You are still wonderfully created, and there is much room for you still. So you're not a horrible person. Because unfortunately, that does tend to happen. Not from my experience on the abstinence retreats or your experience, but sometimes it is if you do this, Jesus will never look at you ever the same again.
You're a wadded up piece of gum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so not true.
No. That's like the worst analogy I've ever heard.
Yeah. And that's not always on the actual abstinence retreats.
Yeah.
It's a random message some people give.
Yes.
So, I guess, Brett, to conclude this time with the moms.
Were you gonna say with the women?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
I
thought that'd be
Well,
fun.
I only had one question before.
Sorry, go ahead.
Before we wrapped everything up.
Go for it.
Moms, thoughts on the hotel man?
I thought the exchange was absolutely hilarious. I thought
All
it
I was
great.
just thinking about was Parks and Rec.
Because
at first I'm like,
podcast, guys, Parks and Rec.
No, that's because he's the accountant.
He's the accountant.
Gets so excited
Dad!
that Ben's gonna come work.
Dad, Ben
yes!
quit again.
I forgot all about that.
He goes on. This is his third role in Hollywood, and he goes on to play that guy in Parks and Rec later.
Oh my gosh!
Dad, you have to hear this joke that Ben said.
Calculator.
Because I was just staring at him and I was like, what do I know him from? And then I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I didn't make that connection at all.
One room, one bed, one big night.
Yes. I will say, from my vantage point, I think that the hotel man handled Cory very well in the, I know what you're trying to do, young man, so I'm going to play along with your game. And then with Eric, clearly some of the greatest chemistry we've seen our young Will Friedle ever have with another human.
I want more hotel man.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
he was awesome.
Oh my gosh, Eric should have worked at the hotel and he would have been his supervisor. What shenanigans could that have been?
Spinoff.
That would have been a great
Kelly,
spin-off.
I know since you're such an intense listener of the podcast, we've thought of so many ways of spinning off other shows and episodes and continuing the lore of this. Honey, we talked about. You've heard it on the podcast, right?
I listen all the time, every week.
Yes.
You can't see this, but Kelly practically doubled over laughing at that comment.
I snorted pretty loudly. Brett might have to cut that out, or maybe he won't.
I'll probably leave it in.
So
what are you talking
moms.
about, Tai?
Okay, so I guess I think the best way to close this out is say that you are sitting across of your teenage son or daughter. What advice would you give them as they go into their senior prom?
Well, it's going to be my teenage daughter because you have the boys and I have the girl. That's what we agreed upon.
Your precious baby, regardless of gender, is about to go leave and be with the love of their life for the most interesting night of their life. And they have the ability to get a hotel room at the drop of a hat. What do you say to them?
I have a while before I have to make this conversation, so I'm going to have like 10 years before I need to do this. I need to think about this.
Yeah, that's something to definitely think about.
I'm sorry, Miss. I have a teenager.
Well, I was going to say my oldest is planning on not going to prom.
Mm-hmm.
My middle
is
child
only a sophomore.
Is only a sophomore, so it's something to think about.
We technically have a
But
year
that's
because
technically
he's
Brett's
not
job.
dating a junior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, it's a good question, Tyler. I mean, the thing is, I think the key is to have ongoing conversations with your children, so that
and
it's
especially
not
like
just
the day of prom,
right, or like the night before, or the week of. Like, I think that's a conversation that needs to be had at various times throughout their teenage years, and then have a reminder talk and just make sure
Well,
that they're aware of all their
and I think that's not just
choices.
like the prom talk, it's also like just the talk of respect for themselves and for other people. I mean, that's something we even talk about with our oldest, like respecting people's no's, like respecting your body, like just different things like that. Like that's conversations that we start at a young age and just elaborate and develop more on as they grow older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is we should start now before it's too late.
I would say we've already
I
started
know we
in
have.
a way because like
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
conversations with him about like, no, your brother doesn't want you tickling him or like smothering him with hugs. Like you need to respect when people say no and to respecting your body. Like,
Yep, I agree with you. Sorry, this is a comedy podcast, so I'm trying to make sure we added the.
you asked me to be on this.
I would say just make sure you do not tell your kids.
You're a disgrace to all men.
Okay. Well, thank you, moms.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, moms, again for hopping on mic and chatting with us. And we can't wait to bring you on again whenever the opportunity arises.
Thanks for inviting
Yeah.
us, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Well, Tyler, why don't we go and see if you've got any deep dives for us?
Let's do it.
People, 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 people. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
So, Brett, the contemporary prom has its roots from the debutante ball. These glamorous events served as a coming-of-age ceremonies for young women from wealthy families participating in debutante balls. Meant a teenage girl was ready to be introduced to society and meet her future husband, as dating in the 19th century was unheard of, and attending a debutante ball gave young women the opportunity to merge themselves into polite society and meet eligible bachelors. Yep. So prom didn't really become a true thing and intensify until basically hopping into the 1920s to the 1950s and onward as we understand them now.
All right.
So if we apparently from 17, Brett, there are 8 prom night tips to help make the big decision.
8 tips.
So
all right.
tip number 1, if you're not ready, don't do it.
That's a good tip.
Recognize that not everyone is having sex. Think about it outside of the context of prom. Is it something you want to do at all? Question mark. Prioritize. One word. Don't do it just to say you did it. Discuss it with your date first. Use protection, like a sword. Wow, nothing.
Did you add like a sword?
Yes, I did.
I had to think about that for a second.
A little delayed. It's okay. Don't expect it to be the best sex you've ever had. So, Brett, with all those considerations, it'll help you, Brett, to decide if you want to have sex on prom night or not.
Okay.
From Hopkins Medicine, Brett, John Hopkins Medicine. Safe sex is having sex with one partner who has had sex with you. Neither of you has sexual sexually transmitted infections is believed to be safe. However, many healthcare professionals believe that there really is no such thing as safe sex. They believe the only way to truly have safe sex uh, is to not have sex because all forms of sexual contact carry some risks, which is fair. Uh,
That's true.
yeah. But, basics that they give out is, making sure you're using condoms. Think twice before taking on a new partner. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Avoid drinking alcohol or using drugs, as it increases the chances that you will participate in high risk sex, apparently. Uh, Basically, you need to, if you start practicing sex, you practicing having sex. Wow. If you're having premarital sex without the context of a uh, firm relationship where you're only having sex with each other, you have to make sure you're aware of your body, looking for signs of sores, blisters, rashes, or any discharge, and check your body frequently for signs of sores, blisters, rashes, or discharge. So, and it's also helpful if you're double checking your partner before you move too fast. So, and also to get tested is not a bad idea. So those are more medical things. And then, Brett, let's talk about some fun facts about having babies.
Ooh.
Because let's get into the 90s biggest reason to not have sex, Brett. Babies. um, 267, Brett. Do you want to know what the bump says will occur
Sure.
267 times?
Let's hear it.
The number of baby photos you'll have on your camera phone after 1 week. Mhm. Uh, 715 loads of laundry you'll end up doing before your baby turns 1. Uh, for those out there in Texas, 16, the weight of pounds one Texas baby weighed at birth last year.
Oh my.
320 are the number of diapers babies will go through in a month. Let's see, 1 in 30, the number of babies born a twin in 2009, according to a study from Michigan State University. In 1980, it was 1 in every 53 babies. So the statistics for twins has increased.
More twins having twins.
Mm-hmm. Uh, okay, let's go with 150, Brett. 150 crying sessions during baby's first year. Talking about you, mom, and not baby, including happy and sad tears.
Mm.
And then babies conceived on Valentine's Day, Brett, in the year 2012. New Year's Eve also ranks quite high, but we're looking at 6,989, Brett.
Alrighty then.
And last, Brett, but finally not the least, I thought we should take a moment to discuss a little bit more about John Baum.
Okay.
Because I love what his IMDb info says. Raised to be a cowboy, John fled his family's horse-drawn dream and headed to San Francisco to pursue a career in theater. Trained at San Francisco State
Theater!
University, John was founding member of both Reflex Action Theater and the legendary Z Collection. While in San Francisco, he appeared in over 30 productions at Berkeley. Let's see, will you give me more on that? Oh, at Berkeley Rep. Magic Theater, Shakespeare in the Park, Asian American Theater, and others, including 2 seasons in Europe. Europe with San Francisco Word of Words performing troupe. While in college, he briefly considered a career in genetic research until a little math problem in one of his labs convinced him this was not to be. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Let's just keep going with his trivia. Brett, apparently, his dog's name is George Clooney. He's the youngest of 7 children. Studied at UCLA. Served as the president of the board of directors of Being Alive and AIDS service organization based in Los Angeles, 2004 to 2009. Interesting. Yes, and I do feel like we would be doing him a disservice if we did not talk in full force about the fact that he is one of the best Park and Rec reoccurring characters.
Oh, yes.
That literally he was just a random character trying to help teach math at a community center, and he returned as a full-blown accountant who was fanboying over Adam Scott's character, Ben Wyatt, yes. So I love that the two of them both have a Boy Meets World and Parks and Rec connection.
Oh, yes. I do too.
So, 1 room, 1 bed, 1 big night.
Yes.
And Brett, those are our deep dives.
All right. Well, let's talk about what we learned.
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Well, I'll talk first about what we learned. I am reminded that there are times where I need to trust my kids to make their own decisions once I've given them the information they need to make them.
Nice.
You know, whether or not prom night is the night to do that, that's not for today to be decided, but there are certainly times. I had this very discussion with Abigail tonight about you can only give someone advice. After that, it's not your responsibility.
Yep.
So, you know, I have to trust them to make their own decisions once I've given them the information they need to make them. So, what about you, Tyler? What did you learn?
If you're going to volunteer to do something, can you at least do a good job at it? Like, it does slightly bother me as someone that volunteers for, you know, school activities, sporting stuff. Even when I drive bus and do field trips, I become an unintentional chaperone if I start roaming around, you know. But, you know, it's just, you're there to help children make good choices. Like, Jack tries his best, but Jack is a little misguided in some of his efforts. And Feeney, it feels like he's just there to, I don't know, cash a check or something like that. Like, if he's getting a
Feeney's
little
2
bit
weeks
extra
away
for
from retirement.
It's true. He is acting like someone who's put in his 2 weeks notice and is just kind of showing up to show up.
Yeah. This is his last prom. He really doesn't care.
It's true.
He had like 3 lines the whole episode, so he's like, whatever.
Yeah, it's so weird. The amount of times this season he's had, like, he's coming for a scene or kind of been in the background for a couple of scenes and not really doing a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, not my favorite version of Feeney, that's for sure.
No. Distracted Feeney is not my favorite.
No. Also, you just let two teenagers that you know way too much about just run off somewhere, Feeney, and didn't think I should stop them.
Feeney dropped the ball. All right. Well,
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
how do you grade Promises, Tyler?
See, here's the thing, Brett. This is not an episode I go to a lot. And I say that for both the good and the bad of this episode because I always forget how much I love the interaction with uh, the hotel man, legendary character hotel man,
Yes.
and Eric. I love so much of what you see in that. Even with Amy and Alan getting news about them having a baby, but we get a lot of that in flashback. So I feel like you tend to see those moments, but you don't always watch the episode. So I think I have to give this episode a B plus because there's things I really, really enjoy about it, but there are some logic leaps that I can't fully make this episode. I wish I could give it a higher grade, but also I don't know. Outside of finding the clips, I don't know if I always want to watch this whole episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm there with you. There's logic leaps. There's some missed opportunities for really exploring things, and the story itself is it's really compressed. So I'm actually going with a C plus.
Sure.
It's not one I go back and watch a lot. I love the hotel man's interaction with Cory. I love Cory, or I love Eric and Hotel Man. I love Eric's subplot. I love Ben's acting, but I feel like they really skipped over a lot of stuff that could have given it a lot more weight and a lot more value.
Yep. I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I mean, MVP of the episode is Hotel Man.
Oh, totally. Without a doubt. Yes. Well, I have a couple of dad jokes for you before we go from a book that I got for Christmas.
Ooh, very nice.
Yes. All right. So the first one. What do you call a dog playing fetch on a road?
Hot dog.
Highway slobbery.
Very nice.
Which kind of dog always lies?
A Dalmatian.
The golden deceiver. And one more for good measure.
All right, why not?
Which kind of dog refuses to exercise?
I don't know.
The Labrador Retriever. All right, good looking people. That is it for us this week. If you want to reach out to us and send us a message, you can email us at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com, or you can send us, leave us a comment across our social profiles at dadsmeetworld, at Facebook, at Instagram, at Twitter /X, or on YouTube if you're not already watching us there. And if you want some pretty swanky threads, you can pick up a shirt, a sticker, a magnet, or a hat, or something else at dadsmeetworld.threadless.com. We've only got a couple of episodes left this season, so stick around with us. It's going to get fun. Until next time, good looking. I'll see ya.
Back to you, good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid? Topanga.
I want to be normal, Spud. We are the Timmers.
Read the Bible.
This is good TV.
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.